It's been 1 year since I've started playing Animal Crossing. You've probably heard about 1,000 different iterations of how terrible 2020 was, and I'm here to tell you that my 2020 wasn't an exception. As the days got warmer outside, my apartment seemed to grow stiller and stiller. I never switched out my winter clothes for summer clothes, and the liberties that I enjoyed for a while, like sleeping in or going to classes in my PJs, started to become a bit claustrophobic. I still had classes to teach and important exams to pass, but I was used to working long hours and squeezing in self-care, like 1 hour yoga before going to school in the morning. I didn't know how to relax and reset my mind now that I had plenty of time to do so. Before Animal Crossing was released, I had joked about getting a Switch and the game several times, but I had never really meant it. I debated for a while because I wasn't sure whether I would like Animal Crossing enough to get a console for it. I didn't play other video games, so it felt kind of silly to me. But finally, on March 25th, 2020, as the lockdown began in my state, my husband and I drove across the city to buy the last remaining Switch Lite at Target. Looking back, it was probably one of the best things I could have done for myself at the time. I learned to relax on the couch to run around the island looking for fossils, for bugs, and my favorite duck villagers. I started playing other video games with my husband, and it became yet another way for us to spend time together. I ended up spending more than 900 hours to build 2 different versions of my island in a year, and now I'm working on a third. It inspired me to start telling stories again, be creative, and connect and communicate with the world again. I was introduced to the Animal Crossing community on Instagram, on Twitch, and now on YouTube, where I would end up meeting many friends, including all of you. For me, looking back through these clips I took of my island and my villagers feel oddly sentimental. A lot of these clips, especially those from earlier months, were taken without any intention of ever showing them to anyone else. They are cut at weird times or captured at weird angles. I hadn't even looked at a lot of them until I started putting the video together, but I'm so happy that I kept them around. They remind me how excited I was to farm tarantulas, to pay my loan off on the house, to get ketchup, my favorite villager from the short time I played Pocket Camp. Nothing grand like having an amazing island, but just me feeling childlike wonder at every small thing around my island. And I think that's really renewed my excitement for taking the game slowly and personally again. So I hope you'll enjoy this walk down the memory lane with me. As spring passed and summer came, I started to feel more comfortable with the controls on the Switch. Finally, I could catch wasps in the trickiest spots of the island and dig fossils without missing the target over and over again. In early April, I had begun posting on my current Instagram profile, and what began as an account mostly for my keepsake started to grow in a few weeks. It felt exciting that people appreciated my photos and that they were willing to trade with me or visit each other's islands in the game. This was also right around the time I started holding flea markets. I wanted to show my followers and friends that I appreciated them, but I didn't know if I had anything interesting or valuable to offer as a giveaway. Instead, I just wanted to have a good time, and maybe in the process, someone would find some value in the items that they picked up. So I was so surprised at the attention and appreciation I received for this, and I'm still surprised that I get the privilege of hosting the market regularly. It's something that has allowed me to befriend a lot more people than I had ever imagined, and honestly, it remains as one of my favorite things to plan and organize. The height of summer, the first version of Jeju had almost come to a completion, and I would soon be posting my first dream ever. I was so nervous to post my dream on the internet instead of getting to take people around as I had done up to this point. I felt like what made coming to my island fun was our interactions together, so without me being able to participate with you, I felt powerless to make people's experience more interesting and exciting. So I was worried that no one would want to visit my island, but many of you dreamt of Jeju and shared beautiful photos of it. Even after this point, there have been many times where I would think, why would anyone be interested in whatever I'm doing or making? I felt so mediocre, but every time I would think that, the community let me know that they were all invested in my creation. That is the one thing that has been consistent throughout many changes in the game and the community over the past year. Some people may stay and some may choose to leave, but whoever is around always keep me proud and confident of my creations and my designs. And for that, I'm immensely grateful. The days grew shorter and shorter. Summer was coming to an end, and Jeju had also begun undergoing some significant changes. But in between all the work, my villagers and I spent as much time as we could relaxing by the community pool and by the beach to make every hour of our summer count. I finally jumped on the bandwagon of elaborate custom design pads, perspective builds, and cluttering up my island as much as possible. I made my first simple panel building and a bunch of boats, and by September I had unintentionally bulldozed over half of Jeju and repaved it with new designs. by October, my island looked entirely different than it had at the end of summer. I talk a lot about my intentions behind this version of Jeju and other things in the second updated island tour video, so if you haven't seen it in its full talkative glory, be sure to check it out. The air became crisp, the sky clear. It finally felt like sweater weather on Jeju. For the entire month of October, the island was buzzing with excitement for Halloween. But even in the midst of that excitement, we had our share of farewells and welcomes. Callie visited the campsite one day, and for the first time, I invited the camper to move to Jeju. Dom was one of my very first villagers, so it was emotional to see him leave. But wherever he moved, I hope his biceps and abs remain strong and defined. In any other year, the last couple of months of the year is most eventful and busy, but in 2020, we stayed home and hosted our first and very small Thanksgiving. Instead, I got to experience the grand celebration and delicious feast on Jeju with all of the villagers on Turkey Day. Around Turkey Day, the trees turned red and started shedding their leaves, and I absolutely fell in love with autumn on Jeju. I released my dream address and the tour video on this channel, and to my absolute surprise, so many of you over the next few months watched and enjoyed that video. As the first snow started to fall, I began making some changes around the island in preparation for the holidays. And booked a ticket to go see my parents in Korea last minute. I spent almost all 13 hours on the plane hunting down festive DIYs and gathering materials to build the seasonal items. I ended up making a cute Christmas market and turned the lake into a frozen outdoor ice rink, which I was very happy about. But I was so tired. I released my holiday dream address and had no wishes to play the game anymore. It was honestly very sad, but also it was a break I needed from 2020 and from pushing myself to play every day when I didn't want to. That's not what this game was about, and that's not what this community was about, and I had forgotten that. As I flew back to the States from Korea, I started flattening Jeju. It was certainly not an easy feat and took a lot longer than I had expected, but I didn't want to reset and lose everything I had experienced on Jeju over the past year. I made a promise to myself that this time I would build everything slowly, take breaks, and enjoy different events. I wanted to see this version of Jeju through late winter, through cherry blossom season, through the deep greens of summer, and finally through the bright red and orange of the fall. dream is for me to continue pursuing what this game has revived within me, my love for making and telling stories, which is all the more exciting and interesting because of your love and support. So I thank you for being on this long journey with me. I hope you have a good day or night, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye!